listen to our agenda today. Welcome, committee members. Nice to have you join us. We're winding down. We can have a little breathing room and a little sleep here in a few days. Abigail, would you do the roll call for us, please?
Senator Boner.
Here.
Senator Driscoll.
Used.
Senator French.
Here.
Senator Guru.
Here.
Senator Steinmetz.
Here.
Representative Banks.
Here.
Representative Eklund.
Excused.
Representative Larson.
Here.
And then Representative Nyman and Representative Paxton excused. Vice Chairman Hicks
Here.
and Chairman Simpson.
Here. Okay, folks, let's tackle our contracts as you understand the formality as the water omnibus bills travel through the process. We have one last meeting to approve those contracts, and that's what we're going to do here today. You have the e-notebook in front of you, all 515 pages. I'm sure you stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning reading those. But here's the deal. Our staff has produced these contracts, gone through reviews, and their legal counsel, who represents WWDC, also reviews all of these contracts. So it's really not our place or purpose to review every word and make sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. Ours is just in a formal process. Director Meade, you've placed in front of us all the contracts that were in both omnibus bills, correct?
Mr. Chairman, that's correct.
And of those, recognizing that neither of those omnibus bills have crossed the finish line yet, hopefully today and tomorrow. But so everything we do today is going to be contingent upon those two omnibus bills passing through. Just want to make sure that we're clear on that. So Director Meade, would you like to coach us of what we have in front of us, what you're asking for us to do today?
Sure. So, Mr. Chairman, I think everybody's mainly looking at electronic copies. So under bookmark A would be our first agenda item, which is level 1 and 2 planning project contracts. And again, these are the projects that were in the House Bill 73 Omnibus Water Planning Bill. The numbers are hardwired in from the actual proposals that consultants put together and the budgets that they were included with those proposals back when we went through consultant selection. So each one of those projects has those numbers in it now. And I would just ask for your favorable consideration of the level 1 new development, level 2 new development, level 1 rehab, and level 2 rehab projects. And if you want me to go through anything in detail, I sure can.
Mr. Chairman,
Please proceed.
I don't know that we need an extensive detail, but if you could just give us a high-level overview of the projects, I think would be helpful.
Sure. Okay, so Mr. Chairman, the Clarks Fork Watershed Study, with its name, it's a watershed study. The contract's for $395,880. The Dayton Water Master Plan and the Riverton Regional Water Master Plan, again, both master plans. The Dayton is for $166,000 and Riverton Regional is for $255,900. And when you go to level 2 new development projects, we have, the LaGrange groundwater supply and improvements, as well as the Pavilion groundwater supply. And those are both level 2 feasibility studies. The LaGrange project contract is for $724,400. The Pavilion groundwater supply contract is for $686,842. Looking at the level 1 rehab account projects, the only one we have in there is the West Afton Nield String Master Plan. Again, that's a master plan for an agricultural district. For $87,843. And then the only one we have in level 2 under rehab is our Diversion rehabilitation. Again, that's also a feasibility study. And that's for 109,000 with that contract.
If you would, Director, just remind me, where's the Dallin diversion?
That is in Albany County.
Okay,
Albany
that's
County,
it.
sorry. That's the city of Laramie, so it's on the Laramie River. Yeah. Yep.
So Director, do you need a motion to approve those contracts?
Mr. Chairman, I think, yeah, a recommendation from the Select Water Committee, I think, is what we're looking for.
Abigail, what does that motion need to look like?
Mr. Chairman, it's a recommendation.
Okay, committee members, anyone want to make that?
Mr.
Motion.
Chairman, I would recommend that the Select Water Committee support the director's recommendation on these projects.
It's been moved and seconded. Abigail, does this require a voice vote or roll call?
Mr. Chairman, I think you can just do a voice vote.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, the next item number 2 is under bookmark F, and these are our small water project program applications that we received, and we have Jody Pavlika here to talk about that. If you see in your electronic notebook, the way that's set up is we have a standard template that we enter into with all these particular sponsors. We have a map of where the projects are located. And then Jody's put together an account 1, the new development small water program summary of recommendations, which is followed by a bunch of individual recommendations for each project. And then we have the same thing for account 2. So with that, I'll hand it over to Jody.
Jody, before you begin, I want to make sure everyone can find that. Does everyone know where we're at on the notebook? We're good? Okay, please proceed.
Thank you. Good morning.
Welcome to
all.
our meeting.
Thank you. I will try to keep it brief on the understanding that we have a lot to cover today, but please feel free to jump in and ask questions on specific projects if you need to. I will go through the summary tables and highlight the number of projects for each sponsor. That is outlined in the column on the right. You'll notice on the column on the far left, there are a few of those projects that have little tiny shovels next to the project name. Those projects have been determined to be shovel ready. So that means after the signatures are completed on the contract, I will issue notice to proceed on those projects and they can begin construction right away. So beginning on the account 1 summary table, the Cottonwood Grass Creek Watershed Improvement District had 1 project for a grant of $18,875. The Hot Springs Conservation District had 3 projects for a total of $84,300. The Laramie County Conservation District had 7 project applications for a total of $175,200. The Laramie Rivers Conservation District had 1 project for a total of $35,000. The Little Snake River Conservation District had 17 projects for a total of $500,000. The North Platte Valley Conservation District had 2 projects for a total of $67,250. The Platte County Resource District had 3 projects for a total of $74,225. And of course, I printed that upside down. The Poposia Conservation District had 5 projects for a total of $169,200. The Saratoga Encampment Rollins Conservation District had 2 projects for a total of $70,000. The Sheridan County Conservation District was similar with 2 projects for a total of $70,000. South Bighorn Conservation District had 8 project applications for a total of $168,700. Sublette County Conservation Districts had 2 projects for a total of $50,800. Teton Conservation District had 2 projects for a total of $58,500. Uinta County had 1 project for a total grant of $25,500. And the Weston County Natural Resource District had 3 projects for a total of $69,650. So that summary table below there will show you what is available as of January 1st. And as I pay bills, that number will tend to go up. But that's the January 5th total available of $826,020 with the omnibus construction bill adding an additional million to that for a total of $1,826,020 available. So if we add up these new requests for these 59 projects from account one, we get $1,655,200 requested for a remaining in the account of $170,820. And if there's any questions on those, I'll be happy to answer them.
Committee, have any questions? So I'm on sheet number 272 and 273, folks, that Jody just went through. Seeing no questions.
Okay.
Do we need a motion for this, Abigail? Do we need to approve these small water projects?
Mr. Chairman, Jason's telling me it's yes, and then it would be a review and recommendation again.
Okay, looking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I'm going to declare a conflict. I was wondering if we could pull the microphone. I am a permittee in one of the projects for the Little Snake River Conservation District. And so I was wondering if we could pull at least that section out so I can vote on the rest of the bill, and then we'll declare a conflict on that and the committee could vote on the rest of that.
I think that would be appropriate. So committee, I'm looking for a motion to approve all the small water program projects except the Little Snake River Conservation District ones.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Now, committee, I'm looking for a motion to approve the Little Snake River Conservation District projects.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no.
Conflict.
With one conflict. Thank you very much. Okay, Director, we're back to you.
I think we have to do account two. Okay, so on account two, apparently, I'm told that's page 353. We'll
Okay,
go-
just give us a second.
Sure.
353.
Okay, is everybody ready? So beginning at the top of the table, as we did previously, Cottonwood Grass Creek has one project for a total grant of $8,100. Laramie County Conservation District has two projects for a total of $49,800. Little Snake River Conservation District has four projects for a total of $102,500. Medicine Bow Conservation District has one project for a total of $35,000. Paposia has one project for a total of $35,000. Sheridan County Conservation District has one project for a total of $17,750. South Bighorn Conservation District has two projects for a total of $41,000. South Goshen Conservation District has two projects for a total of $70,000. And the Sublette County Conservation District has one project for a total of $35,000. So turning again to the summary table at the bottom. As of January 11th, there was $741,475 available in the rehabilitation account for the small water project program. We added $500,000 or will add $500,000 to it in the omnibus construction bill. So there will be a total available of $1,241,475. These new requests, these 15 projects, come to a total of $394,150 for a remaining balance of $847,325 in the rehabilitation account. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you. And the difference between this list and the last list is that they were new development out of account number one, and this list is rehabilitation out of account number two, correct?
That's correct. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Vice Chair, do you need these separated out?
No, Mr. Chairman, I don't have any interest in any of those projects. snakes, so I'm not gonna declare a conflict on that.
No interest, so we can just deny all these projects because you're not interested in them, is that what you?
Any area of interest, Mr. Chairman.
They're very good. Okay, members looking for a motion to approve the account
Mr.
to
Chairman, I
small
would
water
move that
projects.
we adopt a recommendation for the projects for the account to rehabilitation 2022 small water project.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, Director, but
Mr. Chairman, I may, I guess, make the comment that all these things that you're looking at, these action items you're looking at today are going to be in front of the Water Development Commission at their regularly scheduled meeting next week and reconsidered as well. So, okay, so the next item on the agenda is 2022 construction project agreements for account 1, and that's under bookmark G is where that starts. That's page 379. And these first 4, Crystal Bypass Pipeline, Evanston Transmission, Gillette, and Northwest Rural. If you recall, these are the projects that included an amendment in Senate File 80 that if they were eligible for ARPA direct funds, that they would go and get those funds first before they spent account 1 funds. So because of that, we currently have in the e-notebook what our typical agreements look like for these projects, just in case they have to go that route and they're not eligible. We're still working with the budget department and their consultant to determine eligibility, as well as which federal requirements are going to apply to these projects. And if they are indeed considered eligible, then we'll have to work with the AG's office and others to get an agreement worked up for using the ARPA dollars. So just wanted to let you know about that. But the actual dollar amounts won't change. For the Crystal Bypass Pipeline, we're looking at $2,546,000. That would be a 67% grant, with the sponsor required to come up with their 33% match. The Evanston Transmission Pipeline would be for $1,219,400. Again, 67% grant. These are both pipeline projects. The Gillette Regional Extension Phase 6 is $1,125,600. And the Northwest Rural Water System Improvements is $700,150. Again, a 67% grant. Some of those sponsors plan to use their own funds for match, and some of the sponsors are looking to either SRF funding or mineral royalty grants. So again, working with the budget department's consultant to see how that will work with ARPA Direct, but we're actively working with them. So with that, I would ask if there's any questions on those 4 projects.
Actually, I do have a question.
Senator Grew.
Thank you. Director, you were talking about the local match and how some go. How does that usually go in just a normal course or in the recent past? Is there an average of what they end up putting up, or not SRF dollars or not emergency dollars? I mean, is it just more a case that they get the rest of that match from those 2 sources or other sources? Just
Mr.
kind
Chairman.
of flavor of it. Nothing hard, just kind of how it usually goes.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we typically will require them to go through the drinking water SRF because these are municipal projects for that loan, because there's so much that federal money sitting in drinking water SRF. And it usually provides a little bit better interest rates than our 4% at the offer through the commission. However, there are quite a few federal requirements that go with that, and the process gets a little lengthy. So I'm not sure all the sponsors like that. And so if they have the ability to use their own funding just through funds they've set up through, I guess, tap fees and all those things, then they typically will use their own funds if they can afford to do that. But it's typically either drinking water SRF or their own funding is what we've seen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome. So we're going to make one motion after we finish the entire list. So
Okay.
please proceed.
All right, Mr. Chairman, the next block of projects is under bookmark H. And that is starting on page 424. And these are account 2 construction projects. So I should have mentioned all these account 1 and account 2 construction projects. These were included in Senate File 80, our omnibus construction bill. And they've gone through a long process of a lot of vetting and scrutiny to get to this point. So Bighorn Adobe check structure, let me see, is $154,100. That's a 67% grant. That's just a water control structure. Our Cottonwood Irrigation District pipeline replacement is for $1,600,000, and that's a 67% grant, 33% loan, 40-year term. Deaver Irrigation District rehab for $816,810. This one, they have a Bureau of Reclamation grant, so they're only asking for a 30% grant to match up with those dollars. The Dry Creek Irrigation District pipeline replacement is in the amount of $1,850,000. Again, that's a 67% grant, 33% loan. Some of these I should mention, well, are contingent upon in Senate File 80, we have a request to transfer funds from account 1 to account 2. So our new development account to our rehabilitation account to cover the cost of these projects. So there is a small contingency on some of these projects that occur before they are funded. Goshen Irrigation District 29.4 pipeline. This one we have in there, but we have a small error in that one. We actually put the total project cost in the agreement instead of just the materials only cost. So we'll get that fixed up. I wanted to point that out. So that one should be for $290,000. Again, materials only. The Goshen Irrigation District tunnel rehab, we don't have that one in the e-notebook right now. And the reason for that is, if you recall, it's a breakdown of 49% of the projects in Wyoming, 51% of the lands that are served by the tunnels are in Nebraska. And the Wyoming portion is a 67% grant, 33% loan to the Goshen Irrigation District. And then the Nebraska portion, because of the way the agreements are set up between Goshen Irrigation District and the Bureau of Reclamation, where they're required to operate and maintain that facility, and then they get reimbursed from Nebraska for that 51%. So we are loaning 51% of the entire design costs to Goshen Irrigation District. But the language that was put on that particular loan in the Senate File 80 construction bill is we need to go back and make sure we're not gifting them a better interest rate than they could get out on the market. So we're working with the AG's office to get that language right within the agreement. So that's why that one's taken a little bit longer. So it's not in there, but it lines up with everything we've talked about before in the bill and our previous recommendations. Highland Handover Irrigation District system improvements, $4,611,000. Again, that's a 6733 grant loan. And Level Moncur lateral for $991,000. That's a materials only grant. And then the last one in that block is the Owl Creek Irrigation District system improvements for $5,040,000. And this one's a little unique. It's a 67% grant, 5% loan, because they do have some water smart funding through reclamation that they're matching up with our funds. So any question on that block of projects there?
Seeing none.
Okay. The last one in that's coming out of the construction bill that requires your guys' recommendation is the Laramie Valley Diversion Structure 2020. And I believe that's under bookmark I and J. And again, we don't have that one in the e-notebook. And the reason for that is, again, we're just working with the AG's office. It's an amendment to an existing appropriation of $700,000. And again, nothing's changed from the construction bill or from our previous recommendations, just taking a little bit longer to work through that language from the AG. So again, I would ask if there's any questions about any of those or for your favorable recommendation.
Questions? Okay. Looking for a motion to approve recommendation for these construction projects.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Thank you very much. Director, back to you.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, under, sorry, I'm catching up with myself here. Under bookmark J, we have some information. Actually, we don't have anything in the notebook, but on our agenda, we've got a couple of projects that we'd ask our Deputy Director of the Construction Department to talk with you guys about. We've got several sponsors that are requesting some additional sponsors contingency funds on some projects that were just recently bid. So I'll hand it over to Bill Brewer, our Deputy Director of Construction.
Please
Chairman?
proceed, Bill.
Thank you. So these are review and advise type topics. We have two projects from the Eden Valley Irrigation and Drainage District that they bid last fall. The bids came in so excessive that they didn't even want to come in for contingency funds. So they rejected all of the bids with the intention of rebidding in the spring when they were indicated that pipe prices would be better. And at this time, it does seem like pipe prices have somewhat stabilized. However, they're still not sure in how much additional money they would ask for. So what they approached us with was a request to adjust how they bid this project. And my understanding is this has already been approved from the Bureau of Reclamation, who is co-funding this project. To bid this more as a variable length of relining the canal. This canal is, I believe, about 60,000 feet long. They split it up into chunks that they believe they can get constructed during the winter season. So it varies between maybe 5,000 to 7,000 a year, depending on the train they're crossing. This one happened to come in estimating that they want to do about 6,100 feet of lining. In this case, they're converting it to HDPE pipe. It's a 63-inch diameter pipe that they're installing. So what they would like to do is bid this more on a per foot basis and then award what they can afford. Because like I say, this is a multi-section. This is phase 3 of what's probably going to be 10 phases to line this canal. Additionally, they're looking at potentially getting an NRCS grant that would cover the remaining portion of this canal, the next 7 phases, at about a 75% grant. So they would be coming in for phase 4, asking for 25% grant. Right now we're at 60% grant. So I view this as a favorable option to award this project. And it doesn't affect the overall construction of this canal. Their second project is a structure. It's a sand trap to remove sand from the canal. It's at a 60% grant from the Bureau of Reclamation for Water Smart, and we're participating at 40%. I believe those percentage. And again, the structure itself would be funded and replaced at this time. They also had a portion of the canal below the structure that they were going to line. What they're asking for is to bid that portion of structure or lining below the structure as a variable footage and only award what they can afford at this point, and then pick up the rest of that lining in another phase of this project on that canal. So our recommendation would be to accept this variable footage bidding method and award what they can afford now rather than increasing the budget for this project. The next project is the Levitt Reservoir project, which is a.
Hold on a second, Bill.
So at this point in time, Mr. Chairman, Bill, these are just recommendations. So Mr. Chairman, on an individual project, I would move that we adopt a recommendation to allow Eden Valley to go ahead and bid on a variable footage basis.
Moved and seconded. Abigail, are we okay addressing these one at a time? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carries. Bill, carry on.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, the next one's Shell Valley Watershed Improvement District and the Levitt Reservoir Expansion Project. This one's kind of a work in progress, but just high level. I think you guys went out and visited this enlargement back in 2015 as one of our August tours. And anyway, we've gone to bid on that, received bids back on January 11th. They were higher than we expected from the governor or the engineer's estimate. There's a lot of reasons for that. Obviously, there's a lot of supply chain issues going on, and suppliers are having a hard time supplying material as well as giving good bids to contractors. And then since then, we've had the crisis we've got over in Europe with Ukraine and Russia, and that's caused some additional problems throughout the world. So we're working with the current bid provider, that contractor, as well as the sponsor and the engineer to try to value engineer and cut costs as much as we can. So we're not quite there with the information. So we'd like to set that aside at this point from the agenda. And, but again, I think we'll have the commission be looking at this at next week's meeting as well to figure out what path we have moving forward, whether that be a rebid of the project at some point in the future, which is a bit of an unknown, just considering the infrastructure bill funding and the projects that are coming out of that throughout the nation, and ability to provide materials from material providers as well as contractors being available to construct projects, as well as the fuel crisis that we're in right now. So trying to determine if we're going to rebid that or go ahead and try to award it with some of the cost savings that we've been able to negotiate. So I would answer any questions, but at this point, I don't think we have a firm recommendation, and would like to set that one aside on the agenda.
Director Mead, did you tell me that we have 14 current projects going on right now in the dams and reservoirs section?
Mr. Chairman, yeah, 14, 16, right around that number.
So committee, particularly House members, be aware that in the current omnibus construction bill that's in front of us here in the next hour, we've asked for an additional $20 million for contingency to manage these. I'm really worried with the cost of fuel just escalating right now that that's not enough. And so I'm going to bring an amendment to up that by $5 additional million to make sure that these projects that are right in front of us, that we are able to complete them. So just be aware of that and support me if I need some help on the floor, would you please? Any questions? Okay, proceed.
So, Mr. Chairman, the last agenda item is just information, the summer tour, as Representative Simpson and I have discussed, where's going to be located in Afton this year.
Afton.
Yeah.
Why so far?
There's no motion on the table, so cool down.
We've got that. Yeah. We have that currently scheduled for the 17th through the 19th of August. Most likely, we're going to try to get it started probably mid-morning on our workshop, depending on what the lift is going to be for criteria changes associated with some of the things that have come out of the legislative session this year. So I believe Abby has hotel rooms for you guys at the Fairfield Inn, starting the evening of the 16th, in case you need to come over the evening before to be there in time to start the workshop mid-morning. And
Mr. Chairman, if I can explain that, we're going to book rooms like we normally do for legislative meetings. So Lisa Helsing in the main office is setting up a room block, and you'll get that information and we'll have to book it directly. So a little change, but.
okay. And then on Friday so we'll have the workshop on day one, the 17th. Day two will be the tour, and we haven't come up with exactly what we're going to be looking at, but we'll work with Representative Simpson and others to come up with that. And then on the 19th, Friday, we'll have the meeting, and hopefully we'll get everybody out there by noon that day so they can get traveling back home. And Evan, if you want to allude to what your plans are for a potential little get together and feed.
I'd be glad to. Thanks for allowing us to go all the way to the Idaho border. The good thing is that the tour will be before us right now. And the ones we've recently completed are just within a 10-mile radius. We'll just jump around in the valley and you'll be able to see some things there. We have the opportunity. I don't know if you're aware that we have the second largest cold water intermittent spring in Afton up the canyon. And so there'll be some opportunities for some hikes in nature. And then one of the nights I'm going to sponsor a Dutch oven chicken potatoes at my house. So
Not gonna be sage chicken.
We had that debate yesterday in late. So thanks. We look forward to that. Senator Bonner.
Yeah, I would love to make it, but I'd just like to point out that that is State Fair Week. I do feel needed that, there is a strong correlation between this committee and the ag community. I just hope that, maybe not this year, but some year we can reconsider and be cognizant of those dates. I'd love to make it. I'd love to get over to Star Valley, but, that is a challenge. So just a little, my 2 cents there. It's terrible to have to choose between the two, but what I'm going to choose every day of the week and twice on Sunday. So just a little input there.
And Mr. Chairman, I would say we were wrestling with the same thing in Afton because it's county fair there. I think it's the week before.
And the week before that, we had a lot of members that were going to be cropping. And so that was a challenge. So we knew we had a conflict. We apologize for that. Okay, Director.
Mr. Chairman, that's all we have on our agenda. Unless you have
Very
any
good.
other questions.
Well, we still have the commission here. One of the things that has come up on the Senate side, I think, 2 issues. Mr. Chairman, one of them is just a little update. You've still got the supplemental water bill moving through your side. We'll give you an update on the GID. I'll have Senator Steinmetz do that. But discussion that Senator Guru had brought to my attention this morning was the $45 million of ARP fund that are now directed to the Water Development Commission. And so one of the things that I think that this is kind of a little bit unplowed ground for all of us. And so there's still some concerns on the Senate side about what the role of the legislature and the Select Water Committee in there. So what I was hoping to do is to have the director put a timeline together as far as when applications are in. Part of this will be fluid because until we get directive out of the state budget office on how these ARP funds are going to be distributed and administered and all that stuff. But if we could get a timeline as to when applications are due and then when the commission would be looking at those projects to either use ARP funds or normal account 1 or account 2 funds or account 3. I don't think there's going to be anything in account 3 that's ARP eligible, but those and get those timelines set up so we can look at that. The intent here, Mr. Chairman, is that the Select Water Committee that then be able to sit down with Water Development Commission and look at those recommendations as they're being made by the commission, whether it's ARP fund, whether it's account 1, account 2, and coordinate those meetings based on that schedule. So we have some, and I think I'm going to turn it over to Senator Grow to the reason that we want to do that is from an oversight standpoint, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, thanks. I think, Senator Hicks laid it out, but the bottom line for us is that, we've talked about this, we've discussed it, we voted on it, and the votes come out the way they've come out. And the last thing in the world that I want to do, and I think anyone here wants to do, is to try to reinsert ourselves where we shouldn't be, or have people go through a whole process and then have us saying yes or no. On the same token, it would be very nice, I think, and it would also allay a lot of the concerns that some of the folks on our side had. If we could just, as the good senator said, just have that timeline out there as the applications come in, give us a chance just to look at them and see and have an awareness of them. So then if in our communities questions come up or questions come up from anywhere else about them, that at least we have a baseline knowledge of what's happening, where they are and where we're moving. So, and I think that's, in my short time down here, 90% of the things that go awry are because somebody doesn't have the information or someone doesn't have all the information that another group has. And so this way, if we all stay in the loop all the way through this, I think it could alleviate any issues that may come up. And I think it'd just put us a little bit ahead of the game. And so that was kind of the ask that we were discussing, and just wanted to kind of get comments on it. And we don't, like I say, we know where we're going with this, but still, I think it would be helpful.
Yeah,
Very good.
So, Mr. Chairman, under that scenario, what it would be is the applications, and then as the recommendations are being developed by the commission to say, this is ARP funded, this is account 2 funding. that we want to at least participate in that dialogue. And the reason is when we either have to come back to the floor and either defend the position of the Water Development Office, we know how we got to that decision. And so I think that's just, I think that would be very beneficial for all the parties involved, that we set through those discussions as to when the commission says, we recommend this as our normal traditional funding package.
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Please.
So the way I think I've read Senate File 66 now, it has the same intent as House Bill 6 did, but it doesn't have all the language that House Bill 6 did. So I think that might give us some flexibility. And of course, we're now just looking at water projects, rather than water and wastewater. So my thought is, without, having given a whole lot of thought to this at this point, but would be that we can probably end up using some of the same criteria that state lands already has in place, and that we may not have to come up with we might have to tweak an application, let's say, but we might not have to come up with rules and criteria officially. We can just say, hey, we're going to use what state lands uses. And if that is the case and everybody is under that understanding that that meets what we're trying to accomplish here, that should make the process go a lot quicker. I think between now and the May meeting, we'll have some discussions once the legislative session ends and we know where things are landing. Have a lot of discussion with state lands to understand how they go through that process. And if we need to tweak it a little bit for our projects, fine. But if that were amenable to everybody and that's the way we move forward, I think we could potentially be in a position where we could accept applications through that ARP funding as well as our normal program as of September 1, which is when we accept applications for level 3 construction projects, set the same deadline. Then we're comparing them side by side and we bring recommendations to the November meeting, just like we normally would. But that would be without going through and setting up a temporary program, which is kind of how it was laid out in House Bill 6. So I think there's opportunity there if everybody agrees with that.
Thank you, Director. That's exactly what we would like. And so really, the senators are just simply asking for good communication lines between you and us so that we were appraised every step of the way. So we appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, the May meeting is a joint meeting, so we should have a lot more
Yeah.
information at that time and we can talk about it and make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think that's what it's the joint meeting where we can at least participate in those discussions and then understand the rationale as to why the commission made a recommendation in the office one way or the other, because ultimately we're going to have to defend that when it comes out on the floor.
Absolutely. Mr. Chairman, I foresee it as in even kind of concurring with how we go about accepting applications and the criteria. If we're going to go the state lands route and kind of use what they've already set up, then you'll be involved in that discussion in May as well. So
Yeah.
Very good. Committee, we're running low on time. We still got another agenda item. So is there anything else that needs to be discussed with
Mr.
staff?
Chairman, just real quick, if I could have Senator Steinmetz give an update, because I think third reading on Senate File 82 supplemental water funding is in the House today.
Senator Steinmetz, really quick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just really quick, in Nebraska, they approved 9-0 funding, $23.1 million for the Goshen Irrigation Tunnel project here in Wyoming. Funding should be completed and their budget passed. They have strong support and the governor has it in his top 10 priorities to fund this project. So they're looking around April 1 for their budget to be passed. It is included in their standard budget. And so there is funding on the Nebraska side. So I would hope that we could reciprocate on our side. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would just add on to that. Governor Gordon has been in close communications with Governor Ricketts the last 2 days to confirm this is going on, and that Governor Ricketts fully intends to sign this if it makes it to his desk. By all indications, the governor has supported this in Nebraska. So just a quick update on that, Mr. Chairman, as we go to conference on that bill.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks, Director Mead. Appreciate your staff, and you guys have been so supportive this whole legislative session. Thank you very much for being in our meetings and providing us the information we needed to advance our water projects. We're really pleased with all of the water projects that are being advanced through the legislature. So thank you much. Okay, folks, we're on interim topics. You have, let's see, the email Abigail sent to you yesterday has those. Senator Hicks submitted 3 topics, and you've had a chance to review those. Is there anyone else that would like to submit a topic? Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did have a submittal for the Agriculture Committee, which I think after talking with Chairman Eklund would be better suited for this committee. Talk about groundwater control areas and Representative Eklund could probably go a little bit more detail what the exact concern is, but certainly something that the Ag Committee is seeing this session and is not going away. So I think obviously that'd be a good fit for this committee.
Thank you. And Representative Eklund, can you give us a brief report on what that proposal is?
Yes, I think this would be the best committee. Most of us are involved with water and we would have the expertise and attorneys to be able to figure out if there are any corrections. Maybe not only to groundwater, but to state statute concerning any issues that we have. And state engineer's office would be involved as well as water development. So I think it'd be a good topic to bring up. We may not change much of anything, but we need to review that every now and then.
So Senator and Representative, would you submit that to Abigail so she's got it on our official list? Is there any discussion about any other proposed topics?
Mr.
Senator
Chairman,
Hicks.
and while we still got the Commissioner Director here, one of the things that I think that may want to key up for you guys to look at, and it doesn't have to be a select water committee, but as we see interest rates start to go up substantially, at least get that on the radar screen of our currently interest rates. So I'd like to have a discussion as to what I don't want to do is get behind the point where we're just losing out because of inflation. And so at some point in time, just look at, then that would be strictly a criteria issue. We may want to look at something as, maybe that is statutory. That's correct.
Senator
Mr.
Hicks,
Chairman would just be to look at that.
the minimum of 4% is statutory. You can go above it.
Yeah. Does it set the minimum at 4? So the current statute, Abigail, it does have the flexibility for the commission to move that up.
I believe it's a reasonable rate with a minimum of 4%, but
But we may just have a discussion on that, how that would look and how the commission would potentially raise that under, if it does have, if they have the flexibility, but that would be the only other thing, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Abigail, would you please add that? Is there any discussion? Again, I apologize. I thought that an hour was enough time for us to tackle these subjects and I'm crowding you. Is there any discussion on the topics at hand? We'll present those on April 8th to the Management Council and get direction from them. All right, any other topics we need to discuss? Very good. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you for your
Better get your
attendance.
third reading amendment ready.
I've got it being drafted right now.